What would you do if a single act of kindness could transform a criminal's life and set him on a path to save others, even at the cost of his own freedom? The story opens in 1815 France, a time when the poor and weak faced brutal oppression. We see a prison housing many inmates, including Jean, sentenced to 19 years for stealing bread to feed his starving nephew. A minor mistake led to a harsh punishment. The jailer, who despised Jean, forced him to do grueling tasks to vent his hatred. One day, the jailer hands Jean a document granting him parole. He warns Jean that parole doesn't mean full freedom. He must regularly report to him and maintain good behavior in public. Thrilled to be out, Jean searches for work, but faces rejection everywhere. His parole papers brand him a criminal, forcing him to sleep on the streets and wander for jobs. One day, a kind priest takes pity on him, invites him home, and serves him food in silver utensils. Greed sparks in Jean's heart, and that night, after everyone sleeps, he steals the silverware and flees. The priest's men catch him and bring him back. To Jean's surprise, the priest tells his men he gave Jean the utensils and orders his release. Alone with Jean, the priest says he sees goodness in him and urges him to start anew with the silverware, encouraging him to help others as he's been helped. Moved and grateful, Jean tears up his parole papers and leaves the city to begin a fresh life. 8 years later, Jean is a changed man, now a factory owner and mayor of his town. A worker in his factory, Fantine, has a daughter she keeps secret, as she's unmarried, and the child lives with her uncle. When her co-workers discover this, they turn on her, hurling insults. Jean arrives to calm the situation, but notices the jailer from his past, now the police chief of the town. Jean instructs his manager to handle the commotion and goes to meet the police chief. The manager, who had ill intentions toward Fantine, seizes the opportunity to harass her. When she slaps him in anger, he fires her. Jean remains unaware of this. Meeting the police chief, Jean denies knowing him, though the chief feels he's seen Jean before. Their conversation is interrupted by a commotion outside. A worker has been trapped under a cart. Jean rushes to lift it, and his strength and technique make the police chief suspect he's the parole breaker from years ago, though he lacks proof. Meanwhile, Fantine, desperate for money to support her daughter, sells her hair but still falls short. She's forced into work she never wanted to do. One day, her health collapses, and a man tries to assault her. When she fights back, scratching his face, he lies to the police, claiming she attacked him unprovoked. The police chief, ready to arrest her, ignores her defense. Fantine pleads, worrying about her young daughter's fate. Jean, recognizing her as his worker, orders her release. When Jean asks Fantine who's responsible for her plight, she blames him, explaining how his manager falsely accused and fired her, pushing her to this state. Shocked and guilt-ridden, Jean takes her to a hospital. The police chief later confronts Jean, apologizing for mistaking him for the escaped criminal, claiming the real culprit has been caught. Jean, tormented by the thought of an innocent man suffering in his place, goes to court and confesses he's the parole breaker. No one believes him, thinking he's lost his mind. Jean visits Fantine in the hospital, where she's near death, worried about her daughter. He promises to care for her child, but she passes away. The police chief, now certain of Jean's identity, tries to arrest him. Jean begs for time to secure Fantine's daughter, but a scuffle ensues, and he escapes. Meanwhile, the student learns of a general's death, a champion of the poor, sparking grief among the rebels. His friend, unaware she's Cosette's cousin, tells him she's found Cosette. Cosette confesses to Jean that she loves the student, but he warns her against it, citing their unstable situation. The student meets Cosette, and they express their love, unaware that Cosette's cousin, who also loves him, overhears and is heartbroken. She sees her father and police heading to Cosette's home to arrest them. To protect Cosette, she creates a distraction, alerting Jean to the danger. He decides to flee to England with Cosette, who writes a letter to the student, entrusting it to her cousin to deliver. During the general's funeral, rebels protest against the government. The police chief, tasked with stopping them, disguises himself as a rebel, but is recognized by a child and captured. That night, police attack the rebels, and Cosette's cousin is fatally shot. Before dying, she gives Cosette's letter to the student. He writes a reply and entrusts it to a child to deliver. Jean intercepts it, realizing the depth of their love and the danger the student faces. Disguised as a policeman, Jean joins the rebels at their barricade. They capture him, but the sane child vouches for him, ensuring his release. Jean finds the police chief tied up, about to be executed. He takes charge, pretends to kill him, but secretly lets him escape by firing a shot into a wall. The next day, police attack, killing most rebels, including the student, who's injured. Jean, surviving, carries him through the sewers to safety. The police chief, finding the child's body among the dead, is heartbroken and places his badge on the child as a tribute. Noticing the student's body missing, he suspects Jean escaped through the sewers. In the sewers, Cosette's uncle steals a ring from the unconscious student, but Jean catches him and forces him to show the way out. Emerging, they face the police chief. Jean pleads to save the student, and the chief, burdened by guilt, lets them go before taking his own life by jumping off a roof. Days later, the student recovers, but is devastated to learn his comrades are dead. Jean tells him his life's truth, asking him to keep it from Cosette to spare her pain. Jean leaves them to avoid tainting their future with his past. Cosette and the student plan to marry, but her uncle tries to blackmail them, revealing Jean saved the student's life. The student forces the uncle to disclose Jean's location. They find Jean, now gravely ill and alone, near death. Fantine's spirit appears, thanking him for caring for Cosette. Jean gives Cosette a letter revealing his past and dies. Cosette and the student are shattered. Jean's spirit joins Fantine and the priest, whose kindness years ago transformed his life. The priest's words to help others shaped Jean's journey, giving his life purpose through good deeds. The letter ensures Cosette knows his truth, and Jean finds peace. Loved and remembered as the story ends. What did you think of this story? Share your thoughts in the comments.